There is a particular kind of pain that has no name. It is not the sharp sting of a wound or the loud crash of sudden loss. It is quieter than that. It lives in the space between waking and rising, that fragile pause before the weight of the day settles back onto the chest. Most people who have carried it know it well. They open their eyes each morning and, for a single merciful second, forget everything. Then remembering begins. And with it, the heaviness returns. For a long time, a person living inside that kind of heaviness believes the problem is permanent. They look at their life and see only what is wrong. They compare their insides, raw, uncertain, exhausted, to the outsides of others, which appear polished and purposeful. And slowly, without even realizing it, they begin to build a story. A story that says, "This is who I am. This is all I will ever be." But here is what no one tells them in those early, suffocating days: truth does not arrive all at once. It comes in pieces. In fragments. In moments so small they barely register before they disappear again. A conversation that lands differently than expected. A walk taken simply because the walls felt too close. A single night of rest after weeks of none. These are not dramatic awakenings. They are quiet, almost invisible. And yet, they are the beginning of everything. The mind in pain is not broken. It is overwhelmed. There is a difference, a vital one, though it can be nearly impossible to see from the inside. When anxiety fills every room of the inner world, when depression dims the light until even familiar things look gray and distant, the brain is not malfunctioning. It is responding. It has learned, through experience or genetics or both, to prepare for the worst. To scan for danger. To expect disappointment before it arrives. This is not weakness. It is survival dressed in the wrong clothes for peacetime. Understanding this, really understanding it, is not something that happens in a single moment of insight. It unfolds slowly. Over time. Over setbacks and relapses and days when the old darkness returns uninvited. Truth does not arrive all at once. There are people who describe the turning point of their lives as a single event. A rock bottom. A diagnosis. A loss so profound it shattered everything. And sometimes that is true, sometimes it takes catastrophe to crack open a life and let something new enter. But for many, the real change is less dramatic. It is an accumulation. A slow gathering of evidence that contradicts the story the pain has been telling. One day, something small happens. A person reaches out instead of pulling away. Or they sit with a feeling instead of running from it. Or they admit, for the first time, that they are not okay, and discover, to their astonishment, that the world does not end. That someone listens. That honesty, which felt like weakness, turns out to carry a strange and unexpected strength. And that moment, that quiet, ordinary, easily overlooked moment, is a piece of truth arriving. Recovery, healing, growth, these words are used so freely that they have almost lost their weight. But what they actually describe is not a destination. It is a direction. A turning, again and again, towards something more honest, more compassionate, more real. Not a single turn. Not a permanent arrival. But a practice. A return. There will be mornings when the heaviness comes back. There will be weeks that feel like regression, like all the ground that was gained has been swallowed up overnight. This is not failure. This is the nature of change. The line between who someone was and who they are becoming is not straight. It curves and doubles back and sometimes disappears entirely into the fog. But the direction, if they keep choosing it, remains. This is perhaps the most important thing to hold onto in the dark. The setback is not the whole story. It is one sentence. One paragraph. The book is still being written. Self-love is another phrase that has been softened until it sounds decorative. A candle. A bath. A journal with a nice cover. And those things are not nothing, beauty and rest matter. But real self-compassion is harder than that, and braver. It is the practice of speaking to oneself the way one would speak to someone they deeply respect. Not with flattery. Not with denial. but with honesty and with kindness at the same time. It is looking at the parts of oneself that feel shameful or broken or insufficient, and choosing not to abandon them. Not excusing what needs to change, but not punishing what simply needs care. This practice, too, does not arrive fully formed. It is learned in small moments. In the pause before the inner critic speaks, where a gentler voice learns to intervene. In the recognition that imperfection is not a character flaw, it is the texture of a human life. In the gradual, painstaking willingness to be seen, by others, yes, but first and most essentially, by oneself. There is a version of strength that looks like endurance, like gritting teeth and pushing forward no matter what. And sometimes that is what survival requires. But there is another kind of strength, less celebrated and more quietly powerful. It is the strength of allowing truth to arrive slowly. Of trusting the process even when the process is invisible. Of staying in the room with discomfort long enough to hear what it is actually saying. The person who once woke each morning into that nameless heaviness, they are still learning. They still have difficult days. They still carry questions they cannot answer and wounds that haven't fully closed. But they are not the same as they were. Not because something dramatic happened, but because truth kept arriving, piece by piece, in moments too small to name, and they kept showing up to receive it. That is enough. That has always been enough. And it is, in every quiet and unannounced way, everything. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are in the middle of your own becoming, and that is exactly where you are supposed to be.